Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this live stream. My name is Hassan Mohsin, and I lead the program for the Microsoft Reactor in the Middle East and Africa. And today we are kicking off a new series with a new partnership with Malaysia that we continue to have at the reactors. Before we begin, I would just love to remind you that this is a Microsoft event and we follow this code of conduct, which is simplified in these simple points on the right. Basically, we need to be aware of each other, friendly, patient, welcoming and respectful, open to all viewpoints and questions, and understanding of each other's differences, and kind and respectful to all at all time. So this is a live stream where we are going to discuss this topic today, and I would love to add Someleze on the stream to tell us more about the series and what we are expected to learn. Thank you, Someleze, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Hussam. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's feeling good today. And actually, today we have something that is quite interesting where we are trying to showcase how we can build together using the Power Platform. So, today is actually the kickstart of our series, which is Let's Build Together, the low code edition, where we're building solutions using the Power Platform. So, mainly Power Apps, Power Automate, and Dataverse, and also PowerFX. You'll see that in action. So, ideally, within the series, we actually want you to actually learn more about us and who we are and what we actually do when we are doing the sessions. So my name is Somalia Zetigo, as Hossam has mentioned, and I am a cloud advocate at Microsoft that is based out in South Africa, in Durban. And ideally, I love building solutions with the Power Platform, Teams, and Microsoft Azure. So if you guys are out there and are building solutions using these different kinds of technologies, even if it's a different kind of technology, really, you can reach out to me and connect with me on Twitter and on LinkedIn so that we can be able to see if we can collaborate and build solutions together. But today I'm not alone, actually. I am with a fellow Microsoft to Learn student ambassador. I'm an ex student ambassador. So today I'm with Narcis Mbuyu, who is a student ambassador that is based out in South Africa. So I'm just gonna let him actually introduce himself. Narcis?
Thank you for the nice welcome, Somaleze. I really appreciate it. So, just to answer a few questions on your slide, what is my role? Currently, I am a education platform developer at Go Digital. I'm also a Gold Student Ambassador in South Africa. What do I love? What do I love about technology? Well, just the possibility to innovate, to create, to inspire. That's what I like about it. And plus to make my visions a reality using the technology. So that's what I like about it. And my socials, you can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter as well. Just to name a few social pages.
Yeah, that's amazing, Narcis. Thank you so much for being here. So again, Narcis and myself actually have something in store for you, which is the Let's Build Together Local Edition series. So within the series, you learn how to connect a connected solution with Power Apps, Power Automate, and also you'll be actually working on two projects to showcase this new learning. So those two projects are going to be leveraging Power Automate, Dataverse, and Power Apps. And I think there is something very interesting, even with Power Apps and Power Automate, that we would like to showcase in terms of just building out your solutions and trying to use Power FX in a different kind of manner, not the traditional way where you have to think about and research about that specific Power FX formula. But I don't want to get into great detail about it because Narcis might be able to actually show us what he has in store. So, again, with our series, we have our first session, which is today, March 6th, where we are building a booking request app with Power Apps. Then on March 8th, we are automating the booking request process with Power Automate. Then we then go to building a new project on March 10th, which is a mobile sales application with Power Apps. And then last but not least, on the 13th of March, we are automating that mobile sales process with Power Automate. Right. But ideally, if we say we are building a solution throughout the series and we are using the Power Platform, you must be asking yourself a question: what is the Power Platform if you've never heard of it? So, the Power Platform, really, just a brief overview of it, is actually a no code, low code, and code first kind of platform where it is made up of five different products, which is Power Pages for your website development, Power Virtual Agents for intelligent chatbots or virtual agents, Power Automate, which is for workflow automation, Power BI for business analytics or business intelligence for that matter, then Power Apps for application development. And I know today we're actually using one of those specific products to build the solution. And within the Power Platform, all of these products are actually backed by a business data platform called Microsoft Dataverse. Think of it, if you have worked with SQL Server, think of it as SQL Server. It's a bit similar to SQL Server where you are able to store all of your data that is coming from your Power App, your Power Automate flow, or your Power Pages website, or even your virtual agent, and also data that you use from that table within Dataverse within your Power BI dashboard. So the Power Platform is just a low code, no code platform where you are able to build rapid solutions without having to have a technical background, but also those who have a technical background are welcome within the Power Platform and they can be able to use the specific technology to actually build solutions or make super solutions with their pre-existing skills. Right. What do we have actually today? What exactly are we building today? What is today's episode about? Nassis, I think you're on mute.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was on mute. So basically, today's episode will be making a booking system for companies and universities that will allow students to register new courses. And after they register new courses, it has to be approved by the university or by the admin side of the company. Basically, that's in a nutshell what we'll be doing in today's session. In a
Sounds
nutshell.
yeah, sounds interesting really on what we can be able to build with the Power Platform, and I'm so excited to actually see. But I think first up, before we actually build an actual solution, there are a few things that we need to consider. And I know, Nassis, you have a little bit of a technical background with, I think, .NET, Azure, and AI, and I think you would agree with me that these three things are quite important when you're building a solution when it comes to your front end, the middleware, and the back end. And I just want you to touch a little bit on how important is the front end for a solution, really.
Um, the front end is responsible for the look and feel of your application. So basically, how it's presented to the user or to the person using the application is very important because it can make or break that person interacting or engaging with the application. So if it has a good design, it has a nice flow to it, it has a nice feel to it, people will be engaged to use the application even more. But if it has a bad design, but if things are not in place and it's hard to use the buttons, people wouldn't want to use your application. They'll rather use something else itself other than your application that you just made. So it's really important to have a good UI design in your application. In other words, the front end.
Yeah, of course. And I think on top of that, once you have your front end, there are specific business requirements or business logic that actually has to happen within your solution. And this is where your middleware actually comes into play, where you are trying to automate your business processes at the back end or really on your process flows, really. For an example, like your approval processes, your notifications that need to be sent out to the users that actually use that front end. And I mean, what's a solution at the end of the day without a backend where you are able to store your data so that you can be able to make those specific strategic business decisions or for a very comprehensive solution that you're building, whichever technology that you're using. And ideally, to build with the Power Platform, and you want to build this first step, which is the front end of your solution, you would actually come into Power Apps Maker Studio, which this is actually how it looks like, where you are able to have some form of control around the different components that you would add for your screen in terms of, for an example, if you have an image control on your screen, or you want to showcase something within that specific screen, and how your users interact with the data that you have on your back end, that is your database. So you would actually use PowerApps Maker Studio to control all of those different components and build a very comprehensive UI and UX experience within PowerApps. And I'm touching about the backend really. And what are we really using for the backend within these solutions is actually Microsoft Dataverse. And again, like I mentioned earlier on, Microsoft Dataverse is a business data platform that sits at the center of all of the Power Platform products, where you can be able to store all of your data. So you can be able to have a secure, scalable, and intelligent platform for your Microsoft Power Platform solution or your Dynamics 365 solution. Ideally, I know really this is more like talk, and you don't really understand all of these kinds of things. How are we going to build this booking request application really with all of these things and it's all these different kinds of moving parts? Well, don't worry. Narcissus actually has us covered, where he will showcase how we can be able to build the application. Narcissus, let's build the application and show people how to use Power Platform, or Power Apps rather, to build the front end of our solution.
Awesome. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, cool. So as you can see, I've already signed into my Power Platform environment, as Someleze was telling us about. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to start with the back end. As you can see, before you go to the front, you have to start at the back. So the back end, as Someleze was telling us about it, we have to start with the database, which will be using the Microsoft Dataverse. So how do we do that? So if we come to our options over here, we see all this series of options that we can use to start our application from. And in order for us to start our database, we're going to click on tables. So when we click on tables, we see all the generated tables or databases that comes with the Microsoft Dataverse, as you can see. And we're not going to use the generated one that comes with the Dataverse. We want to create our own one so that we can use in our application to meet our use case or the business use case. So in order for us to create a custom one, we're just going to click on new table, and then we have to give it a name. So the name that we're going to give it is called booking request table. So that's to be the name of this application. And now, when a good standard of coding, we have to give it a description so we know what we're doing and what we're dealing about. We don't get confused. So if someone, let's say, want to take a look at this database, you'll have an idea what it's about. But I'll skip the description for now. And then there's an option here as well, enable attachments, meaning that if I want to add pictures and files to my database, I can include enable attachments, include notes and files. So that's what I'm going to do. And then, as you can see, there are advanced options that will allow me to categorize or set my database to how I want it, or how I want it to look like, basically, which I'm going to leave to the default values for now. And then the primary column. So the primary column is the first column that you're going to see in your database. As you can see, so there are some things that are built in already for us and some things that we're going to add. So this name database over here is something that was already built for us. So we're just going to leave it as it is. To describe, description is where we're going to describe what it's all about, but we're not going to do that. And I'm going to click to advanced options. So in advanced options, as you can see, there's the name of the column, and then there's something called column requirement. So column requirement specifies the importance of the column that we want to create or that we want to make. And there's business required, business recommended, and optional. So we're going to click on optional. We're clicking on optional because we don't really need it, but we want to create our database. So when our database works, it can function without this column. It's not essential or important to the running to the functioning of our database. So that's why we put it as optional. So I'm going to click save so that we can create our database. It's saving. So as we said, the backend is very important. So when our user creates our application, when our user starts using our application, the information that they put on the application, it has to be saved somewhere. And that place here is the Microsoft Dataverse that we are using as a platform to create the database, basically. So here's my Dataverse is loading, the database that I've just created right now. So it gives me an overview of my the table properties, what it's about, the name, etc. I can see the schema. The schema is like the blueprint of my database with the number of columns that it has, the relationships and the keys in the database, and how to visualize my data in my database through data experience and customization for me to customize it to meet specific use cases within the organization, basically, or according to my problem. So now I'm going to focus over here, booking request table, columns, and data. So over here, I can see the data and the columns of my database. So over here is name, as I said, it's a primary column, the one that we see first. And then over here, there's 18 plus more. So as I said, these were already generated for us. I didn't create all of this. It was already created for me by Microsoft Dataverse. It already built it. So now I do not want to see this name column. Like it's not part of what I'm looking for or what I'm working with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to deselect it, save it, and now it's empty. So let's create something that we want from scratch. So I'm going to say create new column. So the first thing that we are going to create for our booking request table is the start date. So we're going to add start date onto our table. So display name is what is going to be displayed onto the screen for the person to see. Start date, and then give it a description. So Melissa can tell us a description, but and then the data type, right? So the data type is referred to like what do you want the data to be like, or this entry of this data. So we have different types of data types, right? There's text, there's number, there's date and time, lookup, choice, currency, automated number, file. So now the type of data type that we are looking for, because we are dealing with the dates, we're going to choose date and time. But under it, there's a subsection, and that subsection is date and time and date only. So we're going to choose date and time only, right? Date and time. So that's the one we're going to choose. The behavior, it has to do how it will appear to the user, or how will it behave within the database. Is it a simple entry? Is it a calculated entry? Are we going to calculate, like add certain dates to get a specific date, or is it a roll up? So we're going to just choose a simple one. And then again, the importance of this data type within the database, is it recommended, is it required, or optional? So remember, we are dealing with optional. Everything that we're doing will be optional. So that is not essential for the database to run with it, if I can put it that way. So optional, save, and now let's create the other six columns that is essential for our database to run. So after creating it, you can see it saves over there by start date. Let's add another one, right? So now the next one will be end date. So end date, as we have a start date, there's also an end date, a description of it, and then date and time for my data type, simple behavior, and optional, save. The next one we'll be talking about is the course name, right? So the course name is the course that the student or the people want to study. So I'm going to add it again by clicking the plus. So that's course name, description, and then the data type. So the single line of text, and since it is the name of something, we have to put it as a text. Before we're using date and time, but we're putting it as a text. So now I just want to clarify something with the text. There's plain text, there's text area, rich text, email, phone number, ticker symbol, and plain text and rich text, right? So what do these all mean? So with plain text allows you to just write a single line of text. Text area allows you to add multiple lines of text, maybe two or three. And then rich text areas like where you can write like a whole paragraph or whole essay if you want. So it has to do with what are you looking for, what are you trying to enter in. So for now, we were looking for just a single line of text, which is the course name, and I'm gonna leave it as plain text, right? Behavior simple, required optional again. And then the next one, we're gonna go to the requester's name, the name of the person requesting, right? Now I'm going to pause it here a bit. You can see that it's a bit clouded, right? I don't have any space for me to work with, right? So in order for us to do it, I'm just to work more clearly and visibly, I'm going to click the edit button. By clicking the edit button, it's no more congested, but in fact, it's now expanded and I have a clear picture of what I'm doing. I have a clear picture of my database. So now I'm going to continue adding with the rest of the tables, right? So the rest of the columns I mean, so we're going to add requester's name and then description, single line text, again, because it's the name of a person, the format is a text, behavior simple, or required optional again, because remember, we don't want it to be like mandatory for our database to work. So the next thing we're going to put is requester's email. So that will be the next name for our column, requester's email. So requester's email, description again, I will give it a description to understand what it's about, data type, single line of text. You're probably wondering, hey, why aren't we putting it as an email? Well, the reason why we're not putting it as an email is because we want to use it in our calculation or want to use it somewhere. So that's why we're not putting it as an email. But if we want to just to display it as an email, we're gonna use email. That's why I wanted to point that out. And then format text, simple behavior, optional required again. And then last but we're almost finished with our database. And then next thing we're gonna put is the status of the request. So since we're making a booking request system, right, we have to control the status of it. Like how is it being controlled? And the way we control it is by putting a status request basically. So I'm gonna name this request status. The reason why I'm naming it differently is so that I do not get confused with the built-in status within the database. Remember, I said there are some things that were generated for us and there's some things that we get to create by ourselves. And this is one I get to create by myself as well. So the data type. So since it's a status, we have to give it a series of options instead of the person entering one by one. Imagine you want to change the status, you have to keep on entering. That becomes tiresome for the user. So to make it easy, we give them a list of options for them to choose from so that they can choose the status of the request as it goes back to what we were saying earlier on, the front end, the look and feel of our application. So we want the look and feel to be nice and usable for our user when they're using the application. So back to the choice data type. So I can use choice or yes or no. So yes or no is basically two options, yes or no, either one of them. And by choice is me now specifying or customizing it to what I want it to be. So the behavior is simple, required optional, searchable, yes, it means I can search for it within my database. Selecting multiple choices is allowed. So if I want my user to choose more than one choices, then I'm gonna enable this option. But I do not want that. I want them to choose just one option at a time. So so I leave it deselected. Sync with global choice, meaning if this basically means, do you want your choice that you've just created to appear throughout all other databases? It's visible throughout other databases outside the one that we just created. Do you want it to appear in other tables outside from the one that we just created? I do not want that to happen. I just want to use it in this table which we created. So I'm just going to click no for that. And by clicking no, now it gives me an option to add my customized values that I want my status to show or for the users to see. So the first value I'm going to add is not actioned, right? That's the first user, first choice that we want to add. And then the second choice is approved and declined. So approved, right? And the next one is declined. So these are the three choices that I want my user to choose from. And then we have something called a default choice. So a default choice is what the user will see when they look at your application. So right now there is nothing, and like I said, we want them to understand what's going on. So in order for them to get a picture of what this entry is all about, we have to give them a picture of it. And by giving a picture what it's all about, we have to put a default choice, and that default choice is not actioned. So, and I'm gonna click save for it to be saved into the database. And then last but not least, it's comments. So now, as they're making a request, they must be able to comment on it. They must be able to say something on it. So now we're gonna add that as part of our database as well, right? At our database as well. We're going to give us a description so we know what it's about. So now we're expecting comments. So with the comment, we're expecting more than one line of sentence, more than one lines of words, if I can put it like that. So since we're expecting more than that, we have to be reasonable. We have to think ahead and make it easy for people to enter as much as comments as they want. So in order for us to do that, we're going to look at our text data type and we're going to put text area. Why are we putting text area? Because we're expecting a bit more words, a bit more lines than usual. So that's why we put text area. And then the option is optional again for required. And then we're going to click save. So after doing that, we have our database in a nutshell that we're going to use to create our Power App application. And then after that, the nice thing I like about PowerApps, it automatically saves your stuff. So it's this database is automatically saved, and I can simply click back. Again, I see the properties of my database, and you can see all the details of it again. And after that, I can go back to the home page, or I can go to the create page. So we're going to be creating an application now, and I'm going to go to the create page. Well, before I do that, I'd just like to ask, is there any questions in the chat or any questions from Eleze?
We don't have any questions, so you can just carry on. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of questions towards the end of the session when they actually see what kind of solution we're actually building.
Okay, no problem. Thanks. So since there's no questions, I'm going to continue. So now the nice thing about Microsoft Power Platforms, it allows me to create an application from scratch, or it allows me to create an application from existing materials. And some of the existing materials is a database. So since we created a database, we're going to click Dataverse as our option to create our application. So now it's loading. So if you are using it for the first time, right, you're going to see nothing over here. So if there's nothing on your side, you're just going to click new connection, add a new connection, and you're going to see a series of databases that you can use to add to your Power App, or you can use to create your Power App. So since we created using Dataverse, you're going to select Dataverse within the options over here. I've already done that, so that's why my one appears over there. So I'm going to click on it, right? So now you're going to look for the database that you created out of the pre-built ones that already existed. So you can either search for it. So we created booking. You can either search for it, right? You can search for it, and then it's going to appear. Or if you have an eagle's eye, if that's what they call it, you're going to find it within the options. So the one we created is booking request tables, and I'm just gonna click connect. Right now it's connecting, it's getting things ready for us. So like I said, I did not have to have programming a background. I did not have to create the things from scratch. It's already generated for me, as you can see. In the technical world, or in the more IT world, there's something called CUDE: create, update, delete. Create, read, update, delete. So that's what we use. And Power Apps makes use of that analogy to actually create everything that we need for our application. So it created a platform for us to enter our data. It created a platform for us to read our data. It created a platform for us to update our data, and it created a platform for us to delete our data. And you don't even have to write any code at all, which I find pretty cool as an experienced dev myself. So let's get creating, right? So we have three screens within our application, right? Browse screen, detail screen one, and edit screen one. So I'm gonna start off with edit screen one. So by clicking on edit screen one, you can see name, created on, etc. And you're probably asking yourself, we created more, we had more things in our database in this. Well, don't get worried. There's an answer, a solution to that. So in order for us to add our options that we created within our application, within our database, I mean, we're gonna click on edit form one. But before I do anything, right, let's save our application, because if we don't save it, we're gonna have to start everything from scratch, and we do not want that. So I'm gonna name it booking request request app application, right? So that's I'm gonna name it as. So I'm saving my application before I do anything for it, so I do not lose my progress, right? That's the first thing. Save and continue. So after clicking, the next thing is to do is to click on edit form one, right? Edit form one, and we're gonna look now to the properties of the properties panel. Let me just fix my zoom. Yeah, so I'll fix my zoom. So now we look at the properties panel. So the properties panel allows me to change the properties of the component that I've selected or the page that I've selected, right? So I'm going to click on the edit, and within the properties page, there's a data source. So data source is where I'm getting my data from, basically, because remember we connected a database to it. So that's why there's a data source there. And then there's edit fields. So by clicking on the edit fields, you're able to change the fields that appear within your page. So right now we saw name and created on. I do not want that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove them and start again from scratch, right? So that I do not get confused with what I'm doing. So I'm going to say add field. So what did we add on our database? So we added a start date, right? We're going to add a start date. We added an end date, right? We added an end date. And then after that, there's a course name as well, course name. And then after that, there is the details of the user's name, user's email. And then there's the status of it, request status. And last but not least, the comments. So you see, the way as in the order I selected is the way it's going to appear within my page, and I want it to appear like that. So if you just selected it randomly, don't get worried again. You have that option to move it up and down depending on how you want it to look like. And I'm fine with how it looks like. But if you want to change it, you just click on the three dots here, right? You click on the three dots, and then you can move it up or down depending on what you're trying to do, right? So I'm happy with the fields that I have within my page. Now the next thing is we're gonna start editing the fields, individually. So the first thing we're gonna do is edit the requester's name. And now, as you can see within the page, there's a lock, right? There's a log, meaning I can't make changes to it. Like if I try changing it over here, I can't do anything because it's locked. So what are we gonna do that? So how are we gonna go about unlocking this card in order for me to make changes to it? So I'm gonna click on the card itself. I'm gonna come to the properties. So there's more properties than what you see over here on this side, right? There's an advanced tab and an ideas tab. Advanced tab, you see more advanced properties of the page or component that you've just selected. And then ideas page tab is where you get ideas or recommendation for what you can do with your component or page that you've just selected. So now I click on the advanced tab. unlock the application, the card that I want to make changes to. Let me zoom out a bit so that it's readable. And now the next thing that I'm going to do is we're gonna look at the properties panel. Not the properties, the what the characteristics or the mode of the component or page that I have just selected. So if I come to the top over here, the first thing we're going to change is the default mode, right? So the default mode is how it appears on default, right? So how it appears on default, we want to change it. So the first thing that we're going to do on the default one is we're gonna make it show the user's name, right? So now the next thing that I like about Power Apps is that I can use the existing data within my organization into my Power App. What does that mean? So I can take existing information from my organization system and include it into my database. So that's what I'm going to do. And in order for us, I'm going to show you how to do that just now. Right? So you're probably wondering, no code, less code. Just because we say that doesn't mean there's no code at all, right? You have to use some code at some point. And the coding within Power Apps makes use of PowerFX. PowerFX is the coding language that they use within Power Apps. It's like using Excel. So that's the coding standard within Power Apps. So now within my default property, the default panel, I'm just gonna remove what is already there and add my own line of code. So if edit form one, right? So if the edit form one is equal dot mode is equal to form mode dot new, right? var user dot full name this item request name. So what does this mean? What did I just do? So there's two people using the application. There are two users, an admin and a normal user. If it's equal to the admin, then you're gonna show. If it's equal to the admin, you must show this. If it's equal to the user, you must show that. So we're able to control what each person sees, right? So that's the first one we're gonna do. We're gonna add that to our. Let me zoom out properly. So we're gonna add that to our requester's name. The next thing we're also gonna do, we're gonna also put the display mode to this display mode dot disable. So we want to disable it so that the users don't enter anything on it, because remember we are taking from the organization system and we're adding it within our Power App. So the next thing we're going to work on is on our requester's email. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to show what it's already there in the system. Let's add that as well. So to save time, I have it written on the code, the PowerFX code written on the side, and to just save time. So again, it's locked. I can't do anything on it. So let me just unlock it. I've unlocked it, and now I'm able to make changes on it, right? So now it's the same concept. If it's equal to a user, show this. If it's equal to an admin, show that. And what it must show? It must show the email. Then the next thing that we're going to do is going to disable the card so that they do not enter anything on it. So display mode dot disabled. So as you can see, it's grayed out. I can't do anything to it. Right. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is change the status of. We're going to work on the request status of on our application. So what do I mean by request status? So when new bookings are made, the status of it must be not actioned up until it's been reviewed. So that's how we're going to set on it. So in order for us to set that, we're just going to go to the visible property of our application. And if you can see it's locked, I'm going to unlock it again. And then we're going to go to the visible property and also make it hidden so that they do not make changes to it. Only the admin is able to make changes to the application or to the status of the to the status of the request. So we go to the visible property. So as you see, it's true. If I put it to false, right? If I put it to false, it's disappeared. But I want to do more than that, right? I'm gonna use a if statement. So in my if statement, I'm saying if it's a user, hide the status choice. If it's an admin, show the status choice. So that's what it's showing over there, as you can see. And now we're gonna move on to the requester's email and name. So let's go back to our user interface, the front end. So since I'm not entering my name and my email, why do I have to see it while it's already picking? It's automatically being picked up from the system. Is it wise for us to show it on the application? No, it's gonna confuse us. So to avoid confusion, we're just gonna hide it, right? We're gonna hide the requester's name and hide the requester's email. And how are we gonna go about hiding it? We're just gonna go to the visible property again, and we'll do something similar to what we just did with the request status. So I'm gonna click on it, the visible property, and then I'm gonna say if mode is equal to 0, if it's equal to a user, and that's what 0 stands for. If mode is equal to 0, and if mode is equal to 1. So 0 stands for user and 1 stands for admin. So now I can add everything in one place. So if mode is equal to 0, if mode is equal to 1, the false is assigned to the 0 and the true is assigned to 1, so that you don't get confused. Instead of typing them one by one, you just type everything in one sentence, in one line of code. It makes it easier, if I can put it like that. And if you take a look, my name, my user's name is gone, right? So now I'm gonna go back to visible again for email, and then it's disappeared again with the same line of code. So now the next thing we want to do is the comments. So now only the admin is able to make comments or add comments to the request, and not the normal user. So in order for us to avoid that, avoid the user adding comments to the system, we have to disable this as well. We have to hide it. So we're just gonna say visible.disabled. This.disabled. So we're gonna say we're going to say comments.disabled, basically. I mean, it's true. I made a mistake. It's on. So we're gonna put this to true. Right, true. Right, so we want it to show, right? As you can see, it's showing, and then we're gonna go to display mode. My bad. Right, display mode dot disabled. So as you can see, it's logged. So I'm gonna unlock it again, right? Unlock it again so that I'm able to make changes. Display mode dot disabled. So now it's disabled, so the user cannot add or make changes to the application, right? So I've technically done everything, right? If you look at it. So the nice thing about it, we have to think ahead. So to think ahead, as I said, we're gonna be extracting the user's data from the system. And in order for us to do that, we have to go to the app start, right? So I click on the application over here, the properties of the application, because that's what I want to change right now. And then I see the properties as well, basically. So there's back end, confirm, exit, etc. So on the on start of the application, so when the application starts, I want it to do specific actions. I want it to act in a specific way. So when it starts, I want it to extract the user's data so that we can use it within the application. So that's what we're going to do right now. So on the on start, we're just gonna add this code. So it says state var user. Var user is the variable that we created for the name and email, and then take the user's details. So it takes the user's detail, the email of the person, and the name of the person as well. So that's what happens when the application starts, right? On start. So now after doing that, right, we are almost finished. After doing that, let's check our work. Where did we go wrong? So over here, there's an app checker. It's like you're going to the hospital, to the doctor. I click on the app checker and it tells me what exactly is wrong with my application. And my screen is now become congested. So let me zoom out a bit, close that, and let's look at my errors. So over here in my errors, I can see more details of my error. It says requester's email is not recognized. So to avoid, since I had the code written down, it's not picking up with what's in the database. So what we normally recommend people is to use what is already generated by the system. So to avoid this, right? So this what we are doing is for the email card. So this dot requesters email. So you see the one that we created within the database is picked up. So I click on it and then boom, the error is gone, right? The error is gone. So that's done. So that solves the first error, right? And there are no more errors, which is good. Let me just confirm everything. Go back to the app tree. Requester's name. Did I do that one correctly? Requester's name, default. Okay, requester's name. That's fine as well. So that's done. Our app is checking. Is fine. There are no errors. So now let's go to the details screen. Right. The details screen. Again, it's plain. It doesn't have what we're looking for, and we do not want our user to be seeing name and created on. So in order for us to do that, right, is to click on the details screen again, on the details form, right? So there's the details screen and then detail form on the form itself, on the page itself, right? So now we want to edit the properties of it. So now we go to the properties, we look to our data source, right? And the fields that we want to see. So I'm removing all of this because I do not want it to be there, right? I do not want it to be there. And I want to add my own one. So I click add field. What are we adding? We're adding the start date. We're adding the end date. We're adding the course name. We're adding the user's details, the requester's name, the requester's email. We're adding the requester status, and we're adding the comments as well. The comments as well. So that's what we're adding. And now if I click add, it's loading and it's saved, right? It's saved. So now this looks better. Wouldn't you say it looks better? So now we go back to our browse screen, right? You can see there is nothing on the browse screen because we haven't added anything to our application as yet. But just because we haven't added our application as yet, we as the developer, we see things that the normal user cannot see. So now since we can see what they cannot see, we also have to think ahead. So how do we do that? If I just click on the first one, you can see that there's a title. There's title 1, subtitle, and body 1. So over here, I wanted to show the text. So in the properties panel of it, on text, right? Make sure it's on text. When you're doing this, make sure it's on text. It says this item.name. So I do not want it to show the name of the person, right? I want it to show the course of the person, the course name that the person is taking. So I'm just gonna start writing course name, and it picks up by itself course name. So it's gonna show the course name when we add it. Now over here, I don't want it to show the date created on. I want it to show the start date, right? So I'm going to start writing start date, and then it picks up. And then to finish off, I'm going to add the comments. This item dot comments, yeah, which is I mean not comments. I wanted to show the status. The status is more appealing because that space is too small for comments. So there you go. It's just been added. So now let's test our application that we just created. Since there are no errors, I click the plus, right? We're adding something. So now I can only see the start date, end date, course name, and the comments is disabled, right? Because I'm a normal user. So let's add a date. So today is the 6th. Okay. And then the end date is the 15th, right? The course name is Life Science. So that's the course that I'm doing, Life Science. And then I'm going to click the tick button over here to submit the item. And now, as you can see, there are errors going there. So those errors showing indicate that the application is being posted and is being run. So now I can see Life Science. I can see the dates that it started and that it's active. So now there's some problems. I hope you pick that out. So if I click over here, I'm also seeing issues. So let's solve these issues to make our application meet what we talked about at the beginning, and also look, and it must look and feel nicely. And then after that, we'll take some questions. So now, in order for us to solve that, right, we're gonna go to the browse gallery first. On this active, I do not want it to show the status, right? Remember, there are pre-built columns that were created within our database. So the one that I want to show is request status, right? Request status. So by putting request status, you see it changes to not actioned, right? It changes to not actioned. Now let's go back to the details screen. Now you can see the start date, the end date, the course that I'm doing. I don't see the name and the email and of the user. Well, to simply solve that problem, you come to app, right? You come to app, click on app, the three dots over here, right? You click on app, the three dots, and then you click run on start, right? When you click run on start, now you're invoking that variable that we created at the beginning, right? Let's try that again. Run on start, because our code is fine. And now let's start it again. Let's add something to our system. Maths. Add. Oh, I didn't add a date. But can you see? Okay, let's edit again. Let's do it properly. So let's delete the item and then add a date. So I'm starting tomorrow. That's okay. I'm adding ending next week. That's okay. This one is maths. And then approve it. As you can see, it now picks up on my gallery. I click on it, and then I see my start date, I see my end date, I see my course, I see my name, right, on my organization's, how I'm registered within my organization. That's my name, my email, right, and then the status of my course. And there you go. You've just made a request booking application system using PowerApps and Microsoft Database. Over to you, Somalese.
That was wonderful, Nassis. I was learning quite a lot, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people were going through this specific demonstration that you actually had for us. And I think there were some questions on the chat, and I tried to answer some of them properly. But yes, that was a wonderful session flow, wonderful demo that you showed us with Power Apps and how to build a booking request application using Power Apps. So to take everything further from what Nassis was actually showing us, we have some few resources for you. For an example, we have an onboarding blog where you will be able to set up everything that you need to go through the entire series. So for an example, if you want to build the Power Apps the Power Apps app that Nassis just built, you will need to go through that blog and go through the onboarding pre-steps. And also you'll find resources to the next session, even this specific session, if you missed it, on how you can be able to follow a step-by-step process. And also just a little bit of how you can be able to create tables within Dataverse. You can use those links that are the second link on the screen, which is how to create tables within Dataverse. So you go to aka.ms Dataverse tables. And then if you want to build a Canvas apps, if it's your first time, you can go to aka.ms/Power Apps Canvas. And then last but not least, something that I actually want to call out is the Cloud Skills Challenge. We actually have a Cloud Skills Challenge for this specific series that will help you build these projects. And I'm pretty sure the next sessions that we're going to be having, they're actually based out of that Cloud Skills Challenge. And one of the modules within the Cloud Skills Challenge is what Nassis was actually doing and what the next session is all going to be about. So make sure that you actually join us for the next session. And also, please make sure that you go through the resources and go through the onboarding blog that we have set up for you. Then, again, just to touch a little bit up more on what we have upcoming, we have a few sessions that are upcoming. On Wednesday, 8 March, which is same time, same place, we are going to be automating the very same process from the booking requests app using Power Automate. So make sure that you register for the series, register for the session so that you don't miss out, so that you can end up having a full end-to-end projects with the Power Platform. Then on Friday, the 10th of March, we are building a new project, which is a mobile sales application with Power Apps, a similar structure to what Nassis has, but obviously with a little bit of flair. And then last but not least, on the 13th of March, which is next Monday, we are automating that mobile sales process using Power Automate. So again, just make sure that you actually sign up for the reactor sessions. Make sure that you register so that you don't miss out. At the end of the day, after the series, you'll be able to have 2 projects added to your portfolio using the Power Platform. So don't miss out, and also join the Cloud Skills Challenge and complete it. And I think there's a few people that have already completed it. But other than that, from myself and Nassis, thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for coming through to the session and actually following through with the demo that Nassis actually showed us. And hopefully you guys will be able to share what you built with us on our social media handles, whether it's on Twitter or on LinkedIn. You can search for Samaleza Diego on LinkedIn or at Diego Samaleza on Twitter. And then I think Nassis can share his own social media handles. Nassis?
Thank you once more for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. As for my handles, I'll just add it into the comment section so that it's easy for you to access it. Thank you again.
Thanks, Nassis. Oh, before we actually go, there's one thing that I almost forgot. There was a question around the database or the table that you built using Dataverse. So just to be clarified, is that what Nassis built using Dataverse was a custom table, and he was sending the data to that specific table. And Dataverse can act as your database, and then you just need to build your tables that you will need for your solutions. Hopefully that's clear to everyone else. And also for the Power FX code that Nassis was using within Power Apps for the solution, you'll be able to have access to it, to that onboarding blog that we actually mentioned earlier on. We'll be sharing resources even on the next session. So again, thank you once again for having us, and have a great day or great evening.